This video might give you a headache. I'm just saying. Why? Because you know me. I think you're ready to take it up a notch. We're going to keep expanding. I'm talking about stuff that a few years ago I would be like, yeah, no way, they're going to get the nets out and come get me. Everything goes now because we're breaking through the veils. We're understanding what we are. But are you using the word spiritual for anything? I'm going to take you into a space. I ask that you leave all of the opinions, the beliefs, and everything aside, just to take this in just for a moment and see if this doesn't make amazing sense and could take you into something that you are, that you may not have been accessing to this point. Are you ready to go with me? It's okay. You don't have to be afraid. Let's break through fear. Let's go. Welcome to Landria Onkka on YouTube, here to help you break through those fears and live an amazing life. You know, one of the very things that causes all of the stress and struggle here is fear. And if you've ever watched near-death experience videos, and there's millions of them out there, you know that they're always told that there's nothing to fear and that they should come back and live their lives without fear. And when they do, they have spontaneous healing and all kinds of amazing things happen, but they still have to experience the human pain and all of the trials and tribulations because that's part of the game, our spiritual evolution. All right, I'm going to ask you a question. I want you to just put the emotions aside for a moment. Do you refer to yourself as a spiritual person? Do you refer to other certain people as spiritual people? The ultimate enlightenment, and I know that's what you're not only capable of, but you could actually go into that space right now if you wanted to. What is it? Spirituality is a word in a reality we've created that requires language. We actually don't. We can communicate without it, but you know, we're dense. At this point, most of us have to speak to one another to communicate, but we could actually communicate without language. When we go to that level, and you have the ability to do this with people all the time, you can pick up on how they're feeling, what they're possibly thinking, all kinds of things you can do right now. To call yourself or anybody else spiritual is actually, to label anybody is still separation. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't use descriptive words. I certainly do. I have to communicate with you. I couldn't just sit here and stare at the camera. Well, I could, but I don't think I'd get many subscribers. Especially the ones that don't like my hat. And so, let's go into that space. Now, if you've ever read about Buddhism, you know that if somebody says to you, if you really understand it, if somebody says to you that they're Buddhist, they actually aren't. Why? What? This makes no sense. Buddhism entails no labels, no categorizing, no separation. So if anybody said they're Buddhist, they're separating themselves, they're naming, and that's not the Buddhist way. Now, there are many different forms of Buddhism. A lot of them fight amongst each other too, which is sort of silly. But the true form of that is to be nothing. They claim nothing. They just are. They just are a way of life. Now, there are other amazing, beautiful ways of life out there. Now, let's talk about spirituality. When we use that word, and so again, I'm not asking you to not communicate in certain ways, but I want you to just think about this for a moment, even though thinking gets us in trouble. If you were to drop the labels of anything or anyone, do you think perhaps maybe you'd have a clearer understanding and less of a division of you and that other person? So if you're even thinking it, I'm spiritual and they're not and they don't understand and therefore we argue or whatever it is. We've talked about this with my videos about, why there's a split happening. Well, some of that split, this may be shocking to you, maybe not, some of that split is actually spiritual people. Here's the spiritual people, right? Actually, many of the people in density are the ones claiming to be spiritual because they're still taking a side and separating us. They're actually going over here into this split. Now, we never actually split. It's impossible for us to split. But we can go into different frequencies. There are huge sectors of people here who are separating us by calling us spiritual. And therefore, we are different from other people. We're higher, we're better. Yeah? That's really what a lot of the spiritual people mean. I'm more advanced. I have an understanding and you don't. Well, that's actually impossible. We're just one thing. Everything's an illusion. So the density you see is an illusion also. It's just a temporary state of being. Because when that person steps out into the other realms, they have an understanding, just like you will. Whether you're spiritual and they're not is irrelevant. Because we go into the space of understanding the illusion. So when we look back to the illusion, we will say, okay, that was my choice to either come together as one and understand there is no separation, or for me to accept that I'm labeling and separating myself because I'm in density and I'm choosing to see myself as an individual and to argue and fight for things that I believe in because it benefits me as the ego. When we go to the higher realms, and you can do this right now, this is not an advanced thing that's going to happen in years. I mean, that may be the case as people evolve and make these choices, but it can happen today. If you drop all labels and separating, if you drop blame and stories, you can go into a space of total freedom and euphoria. So if things are going your way, I'll give an example because I get students that are constantly going through this. And if you're interested, come on over. This is free. Wait a minute. This is free. And I hope I got that right. Anyways, this is free. If you go into a space where things are going well in your life, and let's say you respond as a spiritual person, you do all the right things, you say things that are loving, and then you don't get a response that's very positive from the other person, but everything's great because you're thinking, like, I did all the right things, I said all the right things, I was just so spiritual, and then that person reacts in a way that's very unpleasant, and you go into a tailspin. What do you think that is? You know what it is. It's the ego. The ego says, I'm going to be this spiritual naming, person who's doing all the right things, still playing that illusion. And if I do this, certainly I'll get a different response. But of course, the ego is expecting a different response from somebody who is what they are. So there's no acceptance there. Like, this person's who they are. So it doesn't matter what I do. Whatever they choose, is up to them. But we often, as egos, we want a different response, and then we get upset when we don't get it. And it's like, seriously? I mean, the snake is the snake, and if you keep sticking your hand in the basket, it's probably going to keep getting nailed, and eventually it's going to be really unpleasant. And you're like, ow, ow, like, quit putting your hand in the basket. There's a snake in there. And so this is what we do. And the ego goes into a state of dissatisfaction because it wants something to be different, or someone to be different, or a behavior to be different. It wants to control it because it thinks that it's right. So if that person doesn't act the way you think they should and they're not spiritual, you go into anxiety and unhappiness, which makes you not spiritual, which makes you just another ego out there wanting a different response, wanting everybody to be like you. That's not acceptance, that's not spirituality. And so if you're using that word and you're believing that you're spiritual and that there's somebody different to you, ask yourself again what that is. And this is higher level enlightenment, right? This is higher frequency when you actually drop all the labels and you realize we're just all light beings here, playing out various roles, experiencing. We're one. We're one connected energy. Did you know bamboo? I just heard this on a video. I love science. Bamboo's one thing. It's just one entity, one energy field. One, it's completely connected. Well, you know how they sprout and keep going? Same thing with trees. A tree here could get cut down and send a message of distress to another tree, to all other trees between them and one that's 10 miles away from here. And then where does that end? It doesn't. And the same thing goes with you. So whatever's going on, we're bamboo. So whatever happens to me, I'm going to send in the quantum field a signal of distress that every person and everything experiences, because we are not separate. It's not I experience it and then I send it to you and you and you and you. It's instantaneously as if we are one thing. The bamboo feels it at the exact same time because it is one energy field. And then it communicates, of course, with the soil and everything else that is constantly engaged and entangled with everything else. You're closer to some things than others, but not separate from anything. So to be spiritual, using that word as a communication, nothing wrong with it, but how are you thinking of yourself? Spiritual people can cloak themselves into seeming to be right and to actually get people to go into fear and go up against one another, separate themselves. Spiritual people can think that the answer is to isolate themselves and that that's going to be okay. That's the ego. The ego can't handle that uncomfortableness, that mission that they're on. So it thinks that if it goes away and hides from the pain of the world, that it misses it, that it avoids it. It doesn't. You're bamboo. You don't get away with anything. You're going to feel it. So wouldn't you rather participate and be the positive change and go in there and say, this is not fun, but boy, look at what I'm doing. And then the repercussions of that, the cause and effect, is amazingly beautiful. If I cut off a finger because it's broken, it's broken. I'm going to cut it off, and I keep cutting off fingers because they're not working the way I want them to. I don't have a hand anymore, and I can't feed myself. This is one body. What do? You nurture it, you take care of it, you put it back in action. But if it's broken and it doesn't function the same way it used to, you don't get angry with it. It's unpleasant, but you don't get angry with it and you say, you shouldn't be that way. You're like, oh, the finger's broken. It's going to be crooked, or it's always going to have arthritis in it, or whatever happens along the way in the material world that we have to put up with. You're not spiritual. You're light. They aren't evil. They're light. Light is making choices in an illusion that we signed up for. There are no names. There are no names out there. Even the archangels don't have names. When we go into the higher realms, we don't have to say names. We know who they are. We recognize them as having their own seemingly individual personalities, but even that's an illusion too, because it's one mind. It's one absolutely perfect, unconditional loving energy beyond our imagination. Think about, if there is one source, where did that come from? Beyond human comprehension, beyond. All I can tell you is you don't have to know anything or name it or label it. And if you want anything or anyone to be different, you're not understanding the purpose and the value in absolutely everything you experience here. Relish it. Experience pain. Experience what it's like to be human. And say, if I don't like this situation, how do I change it? Do I need to learn from it first? Because if I'm creating this, then there's something going on here that caused that to come into my life. And maybe it's in my face of what I'm putting out there. And maybe it's an opportunity for me to accelerate my frequency by helping somebody or putting myself out or dropping the labels or dropping the judgment. Everything's an opportunity. Take a look at everything that's in your life and say, how do I change this if I don't like it? I must either be a different person, have a different belief, different actions. Somebody's a spiritual person, broke. Wanted to talk to me, and I thought, I'm not going to cure this. I don't cure anything. But I said one thing. I said to her, what's the issue here? And she went off on this whole spiritual thing. I said, no, you're not making enough money. What are you going to do about it? Because she wasn't changing the behavior that was causing her to be broke. And sometimes we do that. We go off into this, I'm going to say things 3 times or put a board up and nothing else changes because we think it's something separate from us, and it's not, because we're just one. It's bamboo. It's bamboo. So that thought doesn't communicate with something out here. That thought is the communication and the creation of everything, because you're the creator. Does that seem blasphemous? That's another limitation too. It is. It's another label that you have a limitation, that you're separate, and that there's something bigger and greater than you. There isn't. How can there be? How can you demean yourself? You are everything and nothing. You are all things. You are capable of everything. You have access to everything. And yeah, you're a human right now. So play the game. Play it well, my friend. This is an illusion. It will continue to be an illusion as long as we are not in the form of the perfection of that which we came from, that we are right now. We're just playing out more illusions, contrast to know ourselves. And it's beautiful. Don't separate yourself. We're not spiritual. We're all one. You ready to go into that space? I hope you'll subscribe. And if you'd like free videos of Manifest Anything, I got more new good stuff in there that's free. Free mobile app to help you catch these thoughts. Am I separating myself? Am I saying anything that's just not true? Am I believing something without knowing for sure if it's true or not? And why do I need to know these things? And is this thought going to be something positive? Is it contributing to the bamboo field? Or am I separating myself and cutting down stalks of bamboo or cutting my fingers off? Am I contributing? Is this thought contributing in some positive manner? If not, then you shift that thought. You have that power. Nobody makes you think anything negative. Nobody makes you feel bad. Nobody does anything to you. Not you. They can do anything in the physical world they want. But how you feel and think about that is completely your choice, no matter what the situation. And that's the biggest challenge. I didn't say it was going to be easy. We didn't sign up for that. That's what makes us so amazing. The universe is applauding and beyond, cheering us on. Take care of our planet. It's not ours. We're bamboo. There are endless entities and illusions out there that share this planet, that we affect, and we are responsible for everything. You are whole and perfect, strong and powerful, loving, harmonious, and happy. These are free videos for my new free videos for people who want to create online businesses. Go create a business. I'm going to have a spiritually conscious business training coming out soon. Let's do amazing things. Quit labeling, quit judging, right? Quit doing all these things if you want to go in a space of peace, because that causes anxiety. And I know that you can do better. All of us can. That's what we came here for. The challenges never end, by the way, no matter how awakened you are. There'll be something new. And then we continue on the other side, and it's so beautiful there. So you have a short period of time here. Don't waste it. I hope to see you in my training. I have 4 proven steps to manifest anything. Breaking through fear. It's a 1-hour masterclass. If you sign up for my, why do I have such... I have to do it backwards, if you sign up for my free videos, Manifest Anything, I give you an opportunity in there to sign up. Or you can go to landriaonkka.com and sign up for my free masterclass there. We'll see you later in another realm. Namaste.